As one of the team leaders of the No Boring Guns Club, I care very little about practicality these days. But when it comes to my carry gun, the gun that is on me on a day-to-day basis with the understanding it might be used to defend my life, I'm actually very practical. Not boring, but practical. Now, currently, I've got 3 guns that I carry. My true workhorse over the last 2.5 years has been my Nighthawk Treasurer, which is a lightweight single stack 9mm 1911. Second is my HK P2000, which is a total sleeper from the HK lineup. And my third carry gun, well, it's somewhere behind me right now, but I'm not gonna spoil that surprise. You'll just have to wait for a future video. But lately I've had the itch for a new carry gun, not because of anything against my Treasurer, but simply to change it up. And fortune would have it, the folks at Nighthawk are mind readers, and they have delivered. Now, when I first laid eyes on their new double agent, I knew that I liked it, but the more I spent time with it and looked into it, I started to wonder, did Nighthawk just make the best carry 2011 ever? Greetings, everyone, and welcome to the show. So nice to have you here. I hope you guys are doing good. Today, we are going to be looking at the new Nighthawk Double Agent. This hotness was announced just before SHOT Show, and I was pretty excited about that. I thought that was a cool release, and Nighthawk was nice enough to let me do the video here. So we're going to be doing a good old-fashioned freaking gun review today, everybody. We're also going to be talking about a little bit of the landscape of carry 2011s, because when this came out, it was really designed with EDC in mind, and I thought, that's kind of cool. I was like, who else is really doing that? There's plenty of, Commander 2011s, but that doesn't necessarily mean it's really designed with the carry market in mind. So it got me going down the path of, well, what are the options and where does this kind of fit within that? So we're going to be looking at that, showing you guys some actual weights and measurements of some various guns and things like that. That said, relationship with Nighthawk, they sent me the gun that obviously we're doing the video on. I like those guys. I'm not going to pretend to be completely unbiased here. I am a Nighthawk fan. I've owned several in my carry gun over the last 2-3 years. On pretty much a day-to-day basis, has been a Nighthawk. So there is an inherent bias that I bring to the table. I've been a Nighthawk customer, a paying customer. I bought plenty of stuff from them, but just know there is a little bit of bias because I'm a Nighthawk fan. I think I'll be able to bring you a fair shake today, but it's fair that you know that in advance. All right, let's get cracking. Guys, big thanks to the sponsor of today's video. That would be National Armory. They are located as a physical storefront in the general Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania area. We found them on the hunt for Gucci guns because they had such a killer selection of new but also pre-owned and sort of vintage firearms that we really fell in love with that shop when we went there. In fact, it was the first time on Hunt for Gucci Guns that I bought something. I bought my Mac 11 there. They are now a Nighthawk dealer. Since we started doing some stuff with them, apparently now they're a Nighthawk dealer. So I know they've got some Sandhawks on order, I believe some BDS 9s. I think I told them to order some double agents. I was like, hey, that one's probably a winner. You might want to go ahead and like throw that into your dealer order. So I do know they have some of that stuff on order. I would just, you know, maybe keep in touch with them, sign up for their newsletter if you want to be informed about some of those things that they get in. We'll be doing some content for them on our Instagram with some of their like upcoming auction items and things like that. They've got one of the big accounts on the old broker, and they put a lot of the interesting stuff up there. Also, if you guys need to move on from anything in your collection, that'd be a great place to go and help sell you or help sell some of your personal gear. I recently utilized them to sell a couple of things, a few 1911's, a couple rifles, things like that I was just ready to move on from and free up space for some other things. So check them out on their National Armory site. You can plug in the code 1911. That'll save you guys 10% off. Really appreciate their support. Let's get on with the show. Okay, so let's take you on a tour of the gun, talk about some features, all that good stuff. The gun is a collaborative gun between Nighthawk Custom and Agency Arms. Those two have collaborated before on the single stacks they've done, which is called the Agent 2. Double agent, double the capacity, 2011, you get it? It is cool. I liked it. I'd give them a pass on that. Overall styling, I love it. I think it's very nicely done. I think it's very understated. There's a certain sort of refinement to it where it's just not really trying to do too much. Even Crispy behind the camera there, he was like, I feel like this one's gonna age well. Like this one, and I agree. It's like, I do think this gun will age well, and we'll look back 5-10 years from now and be like, yeah, that was just a good design. Like, clean, you know, and at the end of the day, let's be honest, guys. Cool points matter, and I think that gun's got it. Okay, fit and finish, very tight gun. There's really no slop, slide to frame, which is, you know, pretty par for the course for Nighthawk. They always do a very good job on that. There's really no hot spots that I've detected anywhere on the gun, whether the grip safety, thumb safety, nothing. It's just all really nicely done, blended together. Tight gun. I mean, you really can't find a whole lot to criticize there. Let's talk about the lower, if you will. The grip is really the star of the show. It is shorter and thinner than a standard 2011 grip. And we're gonna actually get into some measurements and things a little bit later as we start talking about the landscape of carry 2011's. But know that this is a shorter and thinner grip ultimately. The flush fit mags it comes with are 16 rounds. Typically most 2011s with standard size grips, those are 17 round mags. Some people talk about them in millimeters. I don't know why we're still doing that, guys. Like we got to get over the like 140 millimeter mag. Like just tell me how many rounds a damn thing holds. So the grip itself is aluminum, not steel, which is what I would expect for a carry 2011. We're not trying to add more weight by making it a steel grip. Super minimalist mag well. It's not detachable, it's just built into the frame. It is very slight, it is very subtle, but it does work. It is effective, just very subtle in how it goes about it. The grip texture is pretty perfect for a carry 2011. If this was purely a class range gun, you might be like, yeah, I wish it was beefed up a little bit. But once we really start getting into carrying, something that, you know, for some of you guys, you wear undershirts and things like that. I do not. So whatever the grip texture is, that will be against my belly. And this is in that sweet spot where it's like, look, man, it's grippy enough, but it's not so grippy that you're gonna be tearing up clothing or rubbing your belly fur off. It's just a really nice carry grip texture. When you grab it, it really feels like the gun in general feels more like a single stack gun because it is thin. It is simply a very thin profile on that grip. And I like it because you grab it and it's like, there are certain 2011 grips that are just chunky. You know, they're just very chunky. We're like, man, I just feel the heft of this thing in the hand. This does not feel like that. It really feels closer to a single stack. And I'll pull out some interesting stats and measurements on you later. It is railed. It'll take an X300A model. I would recommend you use the B model. The A model simply has a lot of slop on it and your life's just gonna be bouncing all over the place. It stays on, that's not an issue. It's just kind of sloppy on the fitment, so I'd get the B model. You've got a nice undercut on the trigger bar or trigger guard back there, so you can get a nice high grip. The trigger guard does also have some nice texturing that basically mirrors what's happening on the grip. So that texturing is both underneath It is also right here. I'll avoid since there's a human being over that direction. But basically, hey, you've got underneath and up front, you've got some texturing on the trigger guard there. The thumb safety is really nicely fit. That is, for me, one of the hallmarks of a good 1911 or 2011 is we need positive engagement on that safety when it is, and you'll even hear in this one, when it's up, you're like, that is up. When it's down, it is down. It snaps into place. And that's exactly what I want. I do not want a thumb safety that just sort of has a mind of its own and it may pop on at any given moment. That sounds like that's not a real thing, but oh, don't you worry. We'll get to that in the coming weeks. The beaver tail also really nicely done. You'll notice sort of this reduced footprint on it compared to typically a beaver tail is going to kind of extend out a little further out here, but this one is basically chopped down. The nice thing about that, of course, that is an area where your gun would be more likely to print if you're carrying a 1911. So the fact they've kind of done this flush beaver tail back there with the hammer is really nicely done. Moving up to the upper commander length barrel, so it's 4 1/4. Government length would be 5 inches. Officer would be even shorter than commander. It is a bull barrel, and the barrel is just really cool looking. So if you notice up at the front, of the barrel there, it has this they call it a, what do they call it? A 8-facet hex key muzzle with a full crown. So basically it's this sort of octagonal, crown at the end of the barrel, you know, and it's like it extends ever so slightly past the actual slide. And frankly, I care if it has, I don't care if it's functional. To me, this is just a nice style point. This is just an area where like, yeah, that just looks nice and clean. It does have a nice crown on it too, but the whole like 8 hex key, whatever shit, is just nicely done. I like it. Over on the barrel hood, it kind of follows that same philosophy, and there's these like angle cuts that go around it. Again, not so much to serve any functional purpose, just because, hey, it's a Nighthawk agency gun and it should have a little bit of style points. And as best I can tell, that is the intent of that. The gun comes in black nitride, which maybe is not the most elegant finish, if you will, but it is a very durable one. And if you're gonna carry that, obviously, hey, it's gonna get sweat on. It could, you know, be in some elements, you know, from, you know, whatever conditions are outside, if it's snowing or whatever, although I don't really know why your carry gun would get any of that on it. More than anything, hey, it's gonna get sweat on. And nitride will be good and it should hold up just fine. The gun doesn't have any serrations. It has this really cool knurling and it's very well done. I think that's one of the contributing things from Agency Arms is I think this is probably some sort of like patented thing that they have. I imagine there's a name for it. I don't know exactly what it is, but the knurling is really nice. And what's cool is it's actually very functional. Like, I mean, pretty much any serrations these days are perfectly adequate to, you know, be able to grab the gun and manipulate your slide or anything. But these things are really grippy. They feel nice. They look nice. I think it's really nicely done. And it basically, the knurling on the slide basically matches the knurling that's on the grip. They're a little bit more aggressive up top. Keep in mind it's different materials, right? This is obviously stainless and then this is aluminum. So I think they probably just took what was happening up here, scaled it back ever so slightly for the grip, because frankly, if this was on the grip, it probably would be a little obnoxious. Like it would feel good when you're shooting, but it'd probably be a little obnoxious when you're carrying it. I like that they didn't do any windows or ports on this, especially on a carry gun. And frankly, let's just be honest, right? This is not a Glock. You do have to maintain these more than your typical striker fired gun. So that factored in, I don't want any additional areas for extra debris to be able to work its way into the gun. So please don't do window cuts or anything like that on a carry 2011. Let's keep the gun internally as clean as possible, knowing that they need to be maintained a little bit better anyway. I also like that it doesn't have comps or a ported barrel. I'm a believer, hey, look, I think we've gotten too far in the direction of like, not every 2011 needs to have a comp or ports on it. And I think in general, it's like, that's just a trend right now in the gun market where it's like, we want to comp and port everything. And don't get me wrong, some guns, some of the micro guns are going to lend better to that because those guns are just smaller and taking that little bit of bite off is a little bit more beneficial. But on a gun like this, that's already a full size carry gun, we don't need comps, we don't need ports. Again, it's another area for the gun to foul up more. I think they nailed it in terms of just having a clean, non-windowed, non-comped, non-ported Commander Length 2011. Base price on the double agent is $5,900, so they're not giving them away, but that's standard Nighthawk pricing, right? Like if you're getting a Nighthawk, you just gotta know what they cost. So $5,900 is base price. The upgrades on mine would be the ambi safety because I'm a lefty and the iOS cut. That's gonna add about $500. So as configured, you're looking more like $6,500. The iOS system is still the best game in town. I don't think that anyone in the 1911 world has come up with anything better than that, and I don't really think anyone's gonna. Very simple system. We won't do it on camera. I think we probably did it maybe in an older video or something. But basically, there's a little Allen screw up top here. You just rotate that ever so slightly. There's a little pin here. You push that out, and this optic with the plate come off. At that point, you throw on your iron sight plate or a different optic plate if you wanted to, and basically you put the pin in, you tighten the screw down. It genuinely takes less than a minute. And what's nice is, hey, when you take your dots off, they do maintain 0 because the gun is, or the optic is not leaving the plate. So the iOS system is fantastic. That's like a no-brainer. If you were getting one of these or any Nighthawk at this point, you should get the iOS, because even if you don't intend to run a dot on it, it's better to do it now. And not to mention, it looks really clean. Like if you just have the irons plate on, you really won't even be able to see the cuts. They're really, really nicely done. So with that said, let's take you over to the range. Okay guys, figured we'd bring you to the range, shoot some freaking rounds through the gun, just talk about it from sort of a practical user perspective, reliability, trigger, all that kind of stuff. Let's start, we'll just run a mag with some doubles. How about that? Threw the shit out of that first round, technically in, but it felt like garbage. Through that. Man, your boy's melting down here. All right, well, not the greatest performance. So, ironically, 2 weird quirks that are showing up today that I'll probably send this back in, maybe get her tuned up a little bit. For whatever reason, some of the mags that extend past the bottom of the gun, so basically anything outside of the factory Nighthawk mags. Most of my mags are 17s or 20s. There's something in there that's glitchy, that's getting hung up. So I can basically kind of got to rock the mag out. And then let's tell you guys the other thing. Let's just go that mag back in. It seemed like the slide release has been struggling a little bit today. So you can see, I don't know if you can zoom in on that at all. So if you see on that, that slide release is not fully engaging, and it seems like it's doing that on most of the mags. If we go again, yeah, you know, you can just see it doesn't quite want to fully engage. So not the end of the world, but it is something, you know, and with that little quirk, whatever that little bug is in there that's getting mags hung up, I'll probably send that in just to get that addressed. Beyond that, in terms of reliability, man, this is not my greatest performance here today, folks. Beyond that, I've not had any hiccups. I've not had actual, I guess what I would consider like true malfunctions, failure to feed, stove pipes, double feeds, nothing like that. Everything has been everything's been completely reliable, and that mag dropped free. But you can still see on that slide catch. We won't repeat the camera angle, but it's engaged, but it's not fully up. So like I said, I'll probably get that addressed. Like I said, gun's been reliable at this point, minus getting those couple little things tweaked up. I would feel perfectly comfortable carrying this gun. Total round count, right at 1,000, give or take a couple. Typically, I go into a review day, I'm about 800, and then I try to stack about 200 on review day, so that by the time this is really the last rounds that will be shot on this, probably for a little while, typically at that point, I'm at 1,000. And sure, it'd be great to be able to do 5,000 round reviews, but the reality is they would take forever. The ammo bill would be obnoxious. And the truth is, right around 1,000 rounds is kind of where I'm like, all right, we kind of know what we're gonna know at this point. The trigger, pretty standard Nighthawk affair. Nighthawk triggers, they really don't give you an option on Nighthawk triggers. They basically come in about, 3.5 pounds, which is, right in that sweet spot of it's perfectly fine. So, gun very easy to shoot accurately. Obviously, I'm not shooting fast there, but I mean, you can stack rounds on a head box, no problem. Holster compatibility, standard 2011 fair. This is basically the holster that I have on with every 2011s from QVO, light bearing 2011 rig. This will take an X300A model. It's very loose. If I was really gonna live permanently with a light on this, I'd throw in a B model because it's just like tons of slop in that. But it does work perfectly fine in a QVO rig. I also had Roger make me, since I'm for real planning on carrying this, I had him make me an IWB rig that also fits. Very nice. So that's gonna be my little CCW rig there. Pretty sporty little rig, if I say so myself. And finally, just in terms of like overall felt, recoil, how is it to actually shoot? It's very, very nice. It's very pleasant recoil response. I've been shooting this, basically each day that I've been shooting this Staccato HD and the new Prodigy Compact guns that you guys will see on the channel pretty soon. And this is pretty noticeably the softest shooting gun of that batch of 3. Makes you feel good because obviously it's an expensive gun and that's what you would hope for. But that's a little bit about the gun from a practical perspective. I will also tell you guys this. We're doing a pretty sweet little giveaway right now. So if you guys have ever been like, I'd like to hang out with the guys from the 1911 Syndicate and maybe train together. I know none of you have ever actually said that, but for the maybe like one of you that has, here's the deal. One of our sponsors, it's where I buy all of our ammo. It's called Ammo to Go, right? You can type that in online. Obviously, you'll find it. That's where I buy all my ammo. I don't shoot reloads. I do not like reloads, especially on guns like this. So I'm just looking for factory ammo at a really good price. And that's why before they sponsored the channel, that's where I bought my ammo from. But we talked, and basically what Ammo to Go is gonna do, our Patreon only class that we do, which last year was an MP5 operators class with James at HK with a private gray room tour and all that kind of stuff. This year we're gonna do it again. It's probably gonna be an HK class, more than likely on hammer fired HK pistols, 2-day operator class. Ammo to Go is gonna give away 1 lottery spot to the class. So what you do, you go to the form, it's down in the video description, you enter your info, you're in the running, right? Your name can be drawn, you're gonna come hang out with us. The giveaway will include your hotel, your class, and your ammo. So all you gotta do is get yourself there. But if you wanna stack the odds in your favor, if you buy your ammo at Ammo to Go, for each $100 that you spend between now and July 30th, each $100 you spend, you plug in the code 1911 when you check out. Each $100 gets you an additional entry into the giveaway. So if you were to buy $1,000 in ammo there over the next few months, hey, that's 10 additional times that your name enters the hat. And like I said, one of you, oh, that's just awesome. Fucking great. Mag release spring, I place pressure on it, not a gun issue, shooter issue. That's how the giveaway is gonna work. One of you is gonna come train with us. Ammo to Go sponsoring the class. You go to the forum, you order your ammo in there, you plug in the code 1911. One of you lucky sons of bitches is gonna come hang out with us. All right, let's move on with the video. Okay, let's talk about the landscape of EDC 2011s. And I'll just tell you straight up, I've never carried a 2011 just because they're, generally speaking, just a little too bulky for me and what I'm looking for. That's why I've carried the Treasurer for the better part of the last about 2.5 years now. But the release of the Double Agent got me wondering, hey, does anyone make a better purpose-built carry 2011? Because that's really the focus of this gun. Like, it is designed to be carried Yes, it could be a jack of all trade, but it is really focused on the carry market. So I'll give you some notable mentions that we're not really going to handle today, but ones that I would say, hey, they are justifiably, good carry 2011s, but I'll just tell you roughly what, basically why they're rolled out. The Alchemy High Cap Commander, great gun, rolled out based on grip length because that is a full-size grip. The Atlas EOS, great gun, rolled out based on grip texture and length. The grip is simply too aggressive to carry in my mind. And it's also ported. And again, that's just not what I'm looking for in a carry 2011. And then the Jacob Gray TWC9. Good gun. I've had really good experience with these, but rolled out based on the grip. The grip is a little chunky, that's where I talk about that, like they're just a little too bulky for me to carry. This has that feel, but it's also 17 round flush mags. And obviously when you're carrying the gun, hey, that extended grip is gonna print a little bit more. I'll also tell you there's a ton of new people getting into the 2011 world right now. But in my eyes, if we are talking, hey, who's like the king of the castle in terms of EDC 2011s, you can't just show up on day one and be in that conversation. In my little bubble that I live in, I'm like, nah, you got to earn your seat at the table. Because the reality is, it's like pop-up shops for 2011s out there. Hey, fortunately, a win for the 2011 community. Watchtower Firearms went down, so that's good. Unfortunately, they owed a lot of people money, but and some of you probably got some really shitty guns. But hey, at least we thinned the herd by one. But there's a lot of other people in the space that, again, I don't think that everyone who's jumping in the game right now, they're not all going to make it, guys. Like, they're not. Everyone's trend riding, and I wish you well, but I just think not everyone's going to make it. But let's focus on some mainstays that should be in the conversation. Okay, so here's the guns that we're going to look at. Obviously, we'll have our baseline, which is going to be our double agent. We're also going to be using my Treasurer because, yes, this is not a carry 2011, but this is what I'm coming from. So I think it'll be relevant once you guys see a couple of the things there. We're going to be looking at the Prodigy. This is the new compact. So this is the meant to be their version of a carry 2011. We'll have the Fowler Vanta 9 Commander. We'll have the Staccato HD 4.0. While not apples to apples, we are going to take a little bit of measurements on a Platypus, although it's 5-inch. We'll kind of break it down as we go while I'm doing that. So up first, let's talk weight. All of these guns have optics and they all have unloaded magazines. So let's just go weight down the list. The Treasurer, we shall start there. So the Treasurer comes in at 31 ounces, okay? Keep in mind, this is on an aluminum frame. I wanted this specifically to be a lightweight carry gun. Up next, we will go Prodigy. So the Prodigy is actually pretty dang lightweight, coming in at 33 ounces. Of course, keeping in mind that that is a polymer grip, not a metal grip. Up next, we'll go Platypus. So here's the thing about the Platypus. It's its own thing, right? It's an aluminum frame and grip. That's all one thing. Unlike a 1911 or a 2011 that is ultimately modular, right? 1911, of course, the grips come off. They have to be added on. And a 2011, the grip and the frame are two separate components. This is all one thing. Because it's all aluminum, the Platypus is very light. So that's 35 ounces, but keep in mind, this is a 5-inch gun with a threaded barrel for that matter. So it makes me, the reason that I'm throwing this in is because the weight of this 5-inch gun leads me to believe that, man, a Commander is probably 30 ounces. I don't know, I'm taking a guess, but you're like, man, a Commander Platypus is probably a really, really nice lightweight gun. Up next, the Staccato HD with a Holosun empty mag comes in at 37 ounces. So still pretty light. Of course, that's a polymer grip on that, not a metal grip. Then we're going in order if weight-wise, if you couldn't figure out the trend. The double agent comes in at 39 ounces. Keep in mind, this is also not apples to apples because we've got Acros, we've got Holosuns, we got different things going on here. But 39 ounces, and then the Fowler aluminum grip, steel frame, comes in at 40 ounces. So the spectrum really goes from 31 to 40 ounces there, but the double agent 39 is one of the heavier of the carry 2011s. Also keeping in mind that it is one of the ones up here that does have a metal grip. Next, because grip matters so much, let's look at grip length, the comparisons of the different grip lengths. So if we go the Treasurer, so this is a single stack, but it is 8 rounds of 9mm. And here's where it gets interesting. So if we take our double agent, this is where Nighthawk actually got me when they're coming out with this. So of course I'm gonna try to line these up as best I can. Looks to be about correct with where the rear sights are. So the grip length on the Treasurer and the double agent are actually identical. But the caveat is I got double the capacity on the double agent. So I literally go from 8 rounds on the Treasurer to 16 rounds on the double agent, and literally the exact same grip length. You go, okay, that actually starts to make that pretty appealing, because you're saying I can double my capacity and the gun's not even gonna print more because dimensionally they're the same thing. That's pretty appealing. Now, the Prodigy carry, what's kind of unusual is that the mags in the Prodigy carry are 15 rounds. Again, I'm doing this upside down, so I don't know how well you'll be able to see, but take my word for it because I've done this a couple times now. They're the exact same grip length. So the Nighthawk double agent and the Prodigy carry, exact same grip. Difference is you get an extra round out of the mags on the double agent. I don't really understand that. That said, for science, let's just test. Are these mags interchangeable with each other? So will the Nighthawk 16 round mag go in the Prodigy? Yes, it will. Oh, but interesting. It actually hangs out a little bit at the bottom. Well, that's fascinating. That's gonna lead me to believe that this Prodigy 15 round mag will not go. No, it will not. So, interesting. So it seems that the Nighthawk mag is a little bit longer, but when you put these next to each other, the grips look to be identical. So I can't quite tell you what's going on there. If we grab the Fowler is actually a pretty interesting case. So if we go side by side, and we got 2 Acros here, so this should be pretty easy. They're the exact same grip length, but there's a difference in them. The Nighthawk is using, a standard 2011 style grip. The Fowler is using a different system. They're using these Defender mags where, in essence, I have the grip length of a 17 round mag gun. But the way that it's cut is that when I'm using these Defender rounds, which are now 17 rounds, so I actually picked up an additional round over the Nighthawk, the mag goes flush. So the mag does not hang out of the bottom, which is how all the other guns would work. So if you go, okay, look, for overall grip length per capacity, the Fowler is actually the king of that hill there. Up next, let's look at grip width. One of the things that, again, when Nighthawk was putting out some of just their, general marketing stuff on the double agent, they were like, it's the same exact grip length as the Treasurer, but it's actually thinner. And I was like, hey, you're telling me that 2011 is thinner than this little single stack gun? I'm like, well, that's fascinating. So your boy here bought some calipers because he wanted to conduct some science. So what we will do is, trying to do this upside down. Okay, this is, you guys are just gonna have to take my word for this a little bit. That's the unfortunate reality. So grip width on the Treasurer is coming in at 32.3 millimeters. Grip on the Treasurer, on the fucking double agent, man, I really just can't talk today, is coming in at 30.6, okay? Do a slightly lower measurement. That's 30.7. So call it a constant, sub 31. So the fact that this genuinely does have a thinner grip than the single stack, to me is like all I needed to know, because you're basically saying, okay, I got double the capacity with a grip that is the exact same length, so it's not gonna print anymore, and the grip is thinner. Like, sign me up for that. But to keep playing with some of the other competitors, so the Staccato is surprisingly thin, to be honest with you. It's 30.8 millimeters. The reason the Staccato really starts to lose fare for me as a carry gun is, again, you just play the grip link game, try to line those two beaver tails up. Again, I'm doing this upside down, but it's like you do have a fundamentally longer grip on the staccato that's just gonna, you know, it's gonna print a little heavier. Platypus comes in at 31.1 millimeters, still pretty thin. Curious to see who's gonna be the thick boy here. Who's gonna be the thick one? Prodigy? Prodigy feels like the thick one. When you grab it, the Prodigy feels like the thickest one. Yeah, 32.7. So when you grab the Prodigy, you definitely feel that chunkiness of that 2011 grip that deters me from wanting to carry it. And the measurement holds true. The Fowler feels good in the hand, but it might come in a little heavier. 31.9 is about, you know, almost creeping up on 32. So again, it's pretty small margin here. I mean, we're talking anywhere, you know, in the 30 point something up to about 32. But as small as those differences are, you do feel them. And the Nighthawk Double Agent feels really good in the hand. Now, I gotta tell you, while the Double Agent does really well on those tests, the Fowler actually really holds its own as a carry 2011 because the grip is the same length ultimately as the Double Agent. Thickness, not really a big concern, maybe a little thicker, but not that big of a deal. But again, with the design of that grip, you get in 17 round capacity. So it's like, yeah, it does make a certain amount of sense. But again, where that Double Agent really starts to separate itself as a carry 2011, look at the beaver tails. So because the beaver tail on the Nighthawk is reduced with carry in mind, and the one on the back of the Fowler is a traditional style, again, that is gonna be another print, you know, point. So this is, while very carryable gun, not really designed with that in mind. The Nighthawk is designed with that in mind. So in my eyes, it really does sort of stand out as probably being the king of EDC 2011s. Okay, so let's hit you with some final thoughts and get a final rating on this thing. By the way, guys, I don't have to do the final rating thing. I almost do it out of like the novelty because I feel like people want some like gavel moment of this is what it is, but it's like, I don't know. I don't have to do it. If you guys are like, please stop doing that, just let me know. Here's the deal. Once winter is over, I do plan on beginning to carry this. The only reason I say once winter is over, by the way, is just in the Utah cold sometimes, just based on some of the climates I find myself in. I lean a little bit more in the HK camp in some of those colder months, just because 2011s, 1911s can be a little bit pickier and just want to be maintained a little bit more and tighter tolerances, things like that. And frankly, I got this in the winter and I wanted to get a solid 1,000 rounds on it before I started to make a decision to carry something new. It does really thrive in that role of a carry 2011. I think they probably do become the gold standard for a carry 2011 gun, but I do also think it's a gun that can thrive as like a jack of all trades. Because if you were to place this gun bedside or carry it or take it to a class or take it to a competition, I think it could really do well in any of those environments. Pretty damn solid. In terms of final rating, you know, as I highlighted at the range, couple little quirks that really just happened to show up today because that's just the karmic way of filming videos. But with mags, a couple of mags getting hung up and a little bit of a, you know, slide release engaging, but not quite fully engaging. I mean, like that's a nitpicky thing, but I probably will send this in for service just to get them to tune that up or address maybe if there's a little burr or something in there. Nothing major. I know they've got great customer service, so I'm not worried about it. Final rating, I will give you a solid A- on this. I guess the only reason not an A, maybe just because those couple little things that I want to have tuned up, but really an outstanding gun. I do plan on carrying it. I think for those of you who are like, hey, I'd like to have a kind of gangster carry 2011, you could do a lot worse than to pick up a Double Agent. So that's it, guys. That's the review for the day. Comment below if you got any questions or anything like that. And we will see you next freaking week.